Here he is, my familiar, Lou Volino, class of 1970. I've known you forever. You've done more for me than most people in my life, and we're not actually family by blood. But I feel connected to the Volino and the Chan family for a number of reasons. They've always been so hospitable, and during his day as the proprietor here, no one ever made me feel more welcome than this guy. And when I was going through a time in my life where I needed to get back with family and have a place to hang my hat and to keep my mind working and processing, this was the guy. As good as the secret sauce for the spaghettis that they serve here still at Casa de Emmanuel. He's kind of like my old world recipe. But I did not know, and let me give you some credit, because you're such a humble guy. All county, all state, MVP, 7-2, offensive lineman, a guard, Miami of Ohio, class of 70, season of 69. I knew you were a football player, but I never knew you were a football player. Man, you did okay for yourself. That's why you're going into the East Liverpool Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, it helps people like Frank Dawson and Bob Duffy and then to remember. I don't even remember that much.
But I was going through all of the different names when I was with Rick Derringer about a week ago. Many of them, obviously, I know. Some of those I don't. But reading the bio, all of these incredible inductees have had something to do with the Potter legacy, that blue and white forever that Digger talks about. But you really were there just about 10 years prior to when things started to change in this community. The mill crucible shut down, the pottery industry kind of went in a different direction. The numbers started to shrink, not just at the football games, but in the classroom. But there's so many good things that are happening here now. East Liverpool Education Association, the alumni, obviously what Digger did all of those years to get everything rolling. You as an entrepreneur here. But before we get to you being an educator and what you did in business, let's just go back to 1969. So your season kicks off just months after Neil Armstrong sets foot on the moon. We're still kind of reeling about Kennedy being gone 10 years, but there's a lot of hope, a lot of young people still buying into what he was talking about. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That Vietnam was just raging out of control. People were losing their lives. Steve Haniotis here a couple of years earlier in East Liverpool. What was it like growing up in East Liverpool, really in what was truly the end of a golden era?
Yeah. Well, the way I looked at it, at that time, all that was going on, it was just news, but that was kind of far away. The focus, I had a focus really, football was just one of the most important things in my life at that point, and I just focused on that. And that was built up by the coaches, by the town, it was big. Football was huge here. And we used to have parades to go down to the stadium. Before we go to the stadium, we'd drive cars through town, and it was just a big thing, and they made me feel like we were special. So I grew up in a good time, and we obviously had good seasons. In 4 years, it would have been 4 years, we lost 6 games. So, and 3 of them was to one team. So Warren Western Reserve. So I guess my focus was always just on what we were doing, and it was fun. It was something that it affected my whole life because work ethic. Of course, my parents.
I got to talk about them a little bit, though. The background, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Your family, East Liverpool.
My parents, they just worked. That's what they did. My dad worked 18 hours a day. My mother worked like 14. We cooked meals on Sunday and put them in the freezer so that we could, and then we'd warm it up all week because she didn't get home till like 7.
What did your dad do?
Everything.
You'd have to.
First, he started working. They had a block plant right over here on State Street. Him and his 2 brothers, and then he got out of that and started doing painting, and then from there he went to Low Brick. He worked there in the mines for 11 years, and then while he was working in the mines he started a laundromat, and so then he did both for I don't know how many years. Then he built dry cleaners, and then he car washes. We did car washes.
So what you did with the drive-through and here and all of that, that was kind of in your blood.
Yeah, I don't know that I did as good as my dad, but
Did okay.
yeah. But so then we'd have to go to work to see my parents. You know, on weekends we went to Chester, and my brother and my sister and we'd work over there. That's how we really associated with my dad. He'd leave at 6 in the morning, get home at 11 at night.
Every day.
Every day. Not Sundays, no, but then he slept. You know, and down that's what we all did.
Yeah.
We took it easy on Sundays. But then we would all, at one time, my uncles, their boys, had every laundromat in Columbiana County. That was a relation.
No kidding.
Yeah. So my dad had 2 in Chester and Newell, and then in every town, Antonia, Columbiana, Salem, Lisbon, Minerva. I had an uncle that had laundromat, so I call him the laundromat mafia. And they'd meet on Sundays. If we weren't just sitting at home, we'd go out to my Uncle Nick's and we'd meet, and the kids would go out and play in the yard. The men would sit around the table and they had a big salad bowl. They had a loaf of bread. And nobody had plates. They just picked right out of the bowl and
Hand them out.
yeah. And then the women would be in watching Ed Sullivan, and that was our Sunday nights. You know, many of them, and so they all just kind of relied on each other. It was very tight family.
So how did you maneuver going to school, keeping your grades up, playing sports, and I know that family, it wasn't just the adults working. You guys, when you became of age, you were doing something at these laundromats, you know, sweeping the floor up, doing something. I mean, how did you manage all of that? You just made it happen?
Never thought about it, you just did it. I wasn't the greatest student. You know, that's another thing too. I was privileged to have some great teachers that motivated me, and I hope I did that when I taught. But I had a 1.8 going into my senior year.
I can relate. You might have had me beat.
And then my senior year, I ended up getting a 4.8 and a 3.8, and I ended up with a 2.2, which made me eligible to get a scholarship to Miami of Ohio, but timed all the money was on. So I ended up, I told him I'll come down there without money, but you gotta let me come with a scholarship here. So I went down, and of course, I ended up, I was playing Monster at the time, and I kept tackling this guy, Tim Courtney. He was a legend down here. Anyways, hit him maybe 20 times. And Coach Mallory starts screaming, "We're gonna run this play all night." And so I get knocked down on my feet. I don't remember any of this. The players were telling me they came and escorted me off the field, put me in an ambulance, and took me to the hospital. So kid quit 20 minutes later. That's how I got my scholarship.
Right place, right time.
Yeah, it worked.
Let's just go back to East Liverpool when you played football. And look, I've heard the stories from Digger. Been a part of that Hall of Fame, the Lou Holtz Upper Ohio Valley Hall of Fame, the East Liverpool Hall of Fame. Years with my partner Jerry Stovall, Bill Montgomery, Craig Burbick, Bob Kelly. I mean, I love these stories. But it was an incredible time. And if you were wearing the blue and white, and it was Friday night, and you were on the field at Patterson Field, it was the biggest ticket and the biggest show in town.
Oh, we had
Thousands.
we packed in 8,000. There was always 8,000 plus.
At Patterson Field.
Oh yeah, and that started in 1966. Now that team went 9-1. My brother was on that team, and actually Chuck Harris was. He's going in the Hall of Fame too.
Yep.
And my brother and Chuck played right next to each other. My brother was linebacker and Chuck was defensive end, and nobody ran their way.
Never.
No. And two good athletes. My brother was probably a better athlete than me. He just was he was just tough, hard-nosed.
Well, the whole family. And I'm telling you, it comes from your background. Your parents, never saying we can't do it and grinding every day. That's all you knew.
No.
So football was kind of like maybe in some ways a reprieve compared to what your parents did every day. Think about it.
Yeah, it was something that you didn't mind working at it. And, off season, I did a lot off season. In the summers, I used to do like 50. I had a pool. I was a guard, and we had different pools, and I used to practice 50 different pools. 50 pools. There's 3 of them. And so I did 150 pools a day in the summer just to get it down. And I didn't think anything of it. It was just something that I wanted to do. So, but the town itself, and at that time, it was very special.
Who were some of your teammates or some of the bigger games or moments, highlights?
Oh, gosh. My senior year, we had Joe Walker, Dean Stanley. We had Gary Cox, was a really good halfback. Stevie Williams played. Boy, I hate to start naming people, not name them all. Jack Melvin. There was just Al Parsons, who's right over here, right next door, and Moose Jones, Paul Bartulo.
Who'd you lose to besides Warren? Who else did you lose to that season?
We lost to Alliance my senior year, and we lost to Steubenville Central from my junior year, and that was a fluke. We had the coach was in the hospital. Coach Renee was in the hospital, and you've heard the name Jim Mazurka. Jim Mazurka was in the hospital, not in the hospital. We couldn't play, so we were short two people that game, 2 important people, and so we ended up losing to Steubenville. But that year we beat what is it, downriver? My brain, St. John's, Bel Air. Yeah. They were undefeated. They were 8-0. They came up here, and we ended up beating them that year. Their quarterback went to, I can't remember his name now, but he played at Ohio State. Played basketball for Ohio State. And in that game, we were winning. 2 minutes left in the game. They're driving down the field. They get to the 20-yard line. And it was me, I don't know if you know, Dennis Brenneman. We're the 2 middle linebackers. He snapped the ball. He fumbles the ball. So we all dove in. Dennis got the ball. And I'll never forget, of course, we ran the clock out, won the game.
Right.
I never saw a guy get so mad.
Angry.
Oh, he was angry. No,
Human.
It was bad. But we ended up knocking them off that year. And we went 8-2 that year.
Coach Meunier, what did he mean to you? What does he still mean to you to this day?
All my coaches, head coaches, mean something. So we had Charlie Bell and Mr. Walker and Mr. Cook in St. Al's, and then of course I had McNay, and then I had Coach Six.
Norm.
Yeah, Norm was a senior coach because there was a big thing that happened at the high school, and McNay got fired, and actually got fired a month before the season started my senior year. I thought went to Beaver local because I wanted to play football. We weren't going to have football my senior year.
Really? That firing had that much significance?
Well, we didn't have any coaches. When we went to two-a-days, there were 60, 65 players, and we had one coach, Dick Parsons.
That's it.
We did calisthenics for 3 days. There was nothing else we could do. He couldn't handle 60. Then they hired Norm Six and the other coaches, Coach Gillum. Anyways, so we started out 3 days short, of 2 days, and we ended up doing pretty good. That's third game of the season. We played the number 3 team in the state, which was Warren West Reserve, which we lost to, but it was a war. It was truly a war. It was one of the most funnest games, other than we lost, but it still was such a challenge. I must say it was fun.
Lou Volino going into 2024 East Liverpool Hall of Fame class. They're going to be doing that right before the season gets underway. We'll kind of keep you up to date on that. But so, what did you play guard at? How much did you weigh?
I weighed 185, 190.
So, do you think ever when you're watching these games with Duffy or somebody down here at home, how big the linemen are, even in places like Miami of Ohio today?
Oh, I was actually the smallest one on the team, probably, except for a couple of the defensive backs and a couple of split ends. But I was still 195, was the biggest I got. I played some middle linebacker at 195, and I was pretty small.
Did you lift back then and all that stuff during the off season, or it was just lots of pasta and let's hope for the best?
No, I lifted. I came back. I used to work out. I had a good group here that I worked with. And we used to get tested. When I was in college, we got tested twice a summer. We would go to Boardman High School, and everybody from this area would meet there, and we had to run like a mile or something. We'd have to meet certain times. They didn't emphasize the lifting. We did that on our own, actually. They didn't emphasize. At Miami, they wanted some speed, and they wanted you to have stamina.
Why'd you pick Miami of Ohio?
They picked me.
They picked you.
I was going to go to Slippery Rock. In fact, I already paid admission to Slippery Rock. And anyways, I never sent any questionnaires. In fact, I still got my questionnaire from Miami of Ohio.
And they're waiting for it, by the way.
Yeah. So what I did was I went to school, and Norm Six said that Howard Wires, the coach from Miami, wanted to meet me. And I said, I already picked. I'm going to Slippery Rock. I said, I don't want to meet him. So I went over to the laundromat. I was sweeping the floors. And here comes this Howard Wires and Norm Six in. And Howard Wires just come up and started wooing me and everything. I called him the swooper. And he said that they offered me a full ride. They saw me play at Warner West Reserve. And anyways, that's how I got there. And I just went down there and fell in love with the school.
Beautiful. So, why a teacher? And we're going to kind of wrap this up, but why a teacher before you become this entrepreneur?
I was trained.
Programmed.
I went to school, and I had to do it because I was scared to death. In fact, I don't like being in front of people. I was afraid of it. I don't like being in front of crowds, so I was terrified.
And you own a restaurant and talk to people every night?
I know, but that was just my personality is kind of introverted, and so I came back here and I taught for $20 a month at St. Al's. They paid me $20 a month.
Every day of the week?
I taught, yes.
Monday through Friday?
I taught 1st through 8th, and then I would go to the laundromat. I worked for my parents after school. And I did that for a couple of years. And I taught 5 years total at St. Al's. And then I ended up getting a job in 1984 when I got married. And
You've been married that long?
yeah.
40 years?
Yeah.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I taught for 25 in the school.
So you become an entrepreneur. Obviously, you've done so many successful things. And here you are at this stage of your life now. Look, I haven't been involved in the restaurant business for 40 years, okay? But I still miss it. I still love it. And this place has always been so unique and special. But from Farello's to obviously different versions to where you have it and where it is today, it's such a remarkable place, this place. It's nestled into this little corner in the east end of East Liverpool on Mulberry Street. And the overall recipes, Italian food you can afford for sure. But what do you think made this place just so unique?
The history of it just
Goes back to the 20s.
well, 1920. This place opened up in 1922. And it was Mackey's. It wasn't Mackey's at first. It wasn't called Mackey's Bar. But he had a partner. Mackey's had a partner. And they got in an argument, I guess. He went across the street, Mackey. And he ended up, a couple years later, he bought it back. And then it became Mackey's Bar. And he had it from like 1924, say, until 1966. And then 1966, Farello's took it over, and they did a fantastic business. Oh, there was a line that went out the door, and it would go all the way to the garage.
I remember those days.
Yeah, they used to go out, and they would give them drinks all the way,
Keep them occupied.
Yeah. So I was always friends with Mike Frello, which his parents owned it. Yeah. All the Frellos, yarns are great. Anyways, so it ended up, then Rick Hunsaker took it over.
And Michelle.
That was in, year was that? 1980, 84, 86. I think it was 86. And they had it for 14 years. And they did a good job too.
They did.
And then I had a group that, just not me, but a group of people bought it. And then we kept it for 20.
And it's just continues to skyrocket.
Yeah, I mean, the service, the food, it's tradition. I mean, tradition, we were just talking about Liverpool. It's the traditions that make it happen. You know, people come back because of the experience. If you have good food, you have good service, and you keep it clean, you're going to have a good restaurant.
So your faith, your wife, 40 years, your children, your grandchildren, this community. I don't know about you, I feel better than I have forever, but I still have a hard time looking into the mirror saying, 67 years old. I was 37-year-old just trying to talk to Joe Wells here before a game on a Friday night. I love this community, and I just can't say enough good things about this community. But does it seem as though all of that really happened when you look back, because it's such magical stuff? Or do you think maybe just because we're getting older that it seems more romantic?
No,
Was it as good as it seems to be all these years later looking back?
No, it was good. It was good. Community was different. Of course, everything was different. Culture changed over the years. I think we became, in my opinion, more individual now. People stay to themselves more. Back then, you'd walk down the street, they might not talk to you, they might even talk to you personally, but they were looking out for you.
Absolutely.
And now, it seems like they talk to you harshly and they mean it.
A lot of anger.
Yeah. And it might, I'm curious to know myself why, but I think you see spurts of it. I think we're coming along pretty good now. We just interviewed the mayor, and I think he'll do a good job. And Greg did a good job. Jim Slaughter, they all build on each other. So now we're at another level. We just got to keep going up. We got to find out what the needs are, and we fill it.
Last thing before we let you go, Volino going into the 2024 East Liverpool Hall of Fame class. Obviously, many years the owner of Casa de Emmanuel. I was able to kind of get him out for a beer and some conversation, and for him to do this for me this long on tape, it's a gift, so I'm grateful. But listen, before we do say goodbye, one of the things we always did when I was here doing all those videos, when I started these videos 10 years ago, and we've done tens of thousands, nobody has ever talked about a community as much as you have off going live to tapes, I like to say. Are you seeing some of the stuff that we talked about and you hoped for? More business, more retail, more eateries, more traffic in downtown East Liverpool. Are you starting to see some of that?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things going on. I mean, they got $39 million for Pennsylvania Avenue. There's still businesses going in downtown.
The streets have been paved.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
They're doing a good job. It's coming, but there's still a lot to do. There's one thing, I'm interested just with the kids, and I would love to see Bridges Out of Poverty or something where we work with the kids and work with the parents and, the school, and everybody try to work together, for the good of them. Not in any political way. I'm talking, just looking at a child just like you would yours and saying
every day
what's best for that kid for this day, today only, and not look at it from a political point of view. And that's hard to do.
It's human interest. That's what you should be looking at things.
Yeah. What's the needs?
Absolutely.
And if we get to that, my gosh, we're awesome.
What about that? I'm a big fan of the Education Association. I think they got a great school district here. And you being a former teacher, I'm sure things you would like to tweak. But all in all, with the way the world is today in public education, I think they get it.
No, they have good teachers, and you have to have support. Teachers need support.
Absolutely, every day.
Yeah, if you don't have the support, they can't be successful. And that takes parents, it takes people that just care about kids and how they're organizing. That's the thing. It's hard to organize. Maybe it isn't. It seems like it is.
I think they got a good football coach. I think the future is bright. The field has never looked better. You look great. You seem rested. You seem happy. And listen, thank you so much. And I know you're so honored to be going through this all.
Very much. Very much. It's humbling to, even after 54 years, someone even acknowledges that you did something. Yeah, it's pretty humbling.
When something good happens, here's how I describe it. You'll appreciate this. It's like your mother saying, "Can I give you a little more sauce?" You get it? It's a little more sauce. Really much love. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, folks. Going to be heading back to Pennsylvania, back to the home studio, back on the radio, of course, just before you know it, KDKA. In the meantime, to all of my friends here in East Liverpool, it's always a pleasure coming here, talking to what this community is all about, family, and that's what he is. And don't forget, always support local, blue and white forever, the East Liverpool Hall of Fame class of 2024 from Casa de Emmanuel. Good night, everybody.